The xenophobic nationalist right loves to talk about how none of these immigrants can assimilate in the United States. They bring their own language, they bring their own culture, they bring their own skin color. Wait, okay, maybe that last one they're at least not supposed to say out loud. Anyway, the nationalists love to talk about how immigrants from Latin America or the Middle East or Asia, basically from anywhere other than Europe, they just can't assimilate here, or they choose not to, or they don't have the cognitive capacity to do it. They can't successfully integrate themselves into the American milieu and culture. So say the conservative nationalists. I want to flip this around. I want to make the case that it's the conservative nationalists who are unable to assimilate to the reality of 2019 United States of America. There's a really good article on reason.com about this. The way the argument usually goes is people come here from other countries, they change the fabric of the country, they make it something else, something other than what we believe it is supposed to be. And next thing you know, we'll be living under Sharia law, or Spanish will be the national language of the United States, or whatever, which is a very popular but also completely bogus, slippery slope argument that the conservative nationalists just love to make. The reality is that it is them. It's the conservative nationalists who are unable to assimilate to the reality of life in the USA in 2019. The United States was founded on principles that these extremist, conservative, nationalist enclaves simply cannot accept or adapt to. Imagine a community that rallies around the Confederate flag, the opposite of what the United States stands for and represents. Those groups that look at the Confederacy, that fought for slavery in the Civil War, they look at that era as the golden era. They're not assimilated to the modern reality of the United States. They don't fit here. That's the reality. The immigrant from Guatemala who comes to New York City and goes to school while working in a restaurant is far more assimilated to the ideals and values of the United States than conservative nationalists who in their minds are still living in the 1800s of the United States. It's not even a close call. There's not even a debate to be had about who is actually assimilated here in the United States. There's this revival of a sort of nationalist, conservative, rural white identity. And you don't have to check every single one of those boxes to be part of it. That is simply unassimilated to the reality of the 2019 United States of America. They do not fit here. Their culture, conservative nationalist culture, runs counter to that of the United States at large. Now, yes, I understand that there are parts of the country where it's not obvious that it runs counter. But the truth is that their culture runs counter to that of the United States. Their language, including the terms that they use and how they talk about issues, runs counter to the way that the United States of America is increasingly talking about issues. Their views certainly run counter to the foundational views and values of the United States. Why is it that they can't accept that they live in the United States and accept the principles on which the country was founded and assimilate and get in line? They say that that's what the immigrants are supposed to do. I say that's what they should do. Assimilate instead of talking about kicking people out. Assimilate instead of talking about building walls or using racial slurs. And in fact, there's actually an irony. Much of the Confederacy simply didn't want to be part of the United States. And based on their total lack of assimilation in the modern day, maybe they still don't want to be part of what the United States actually is. Consider that immigrants value education in modern day 2019 USA much more than these conservative nationalists who see it instead as some form of liberal indoctrination for those fancy schmancy liberals. The view of the immigrant on education is by and large far more assimilated to the values of the United States than the view of education that the conservative nationalists hold. You have in this coalition, conservative nationalist coalition, a bitter and angry and entitled group of people that is just refusing to accept the country, not for what they fear it is becoming, but for what it actually is and has always been, a melting pot. I know it's cliche, but it's a melting pot that they want to be the sole beneficiaries of, not people that look different from them or that have different cultural backgrounds or different views about education, quite frankly. And my message to them is, if they can't assimilate, what are they doing? What are they planning to do? Because the answer to that question may actually be extraordinarily disturbing and dystopian. Donald Trump said, if you don't like it, leave. It's interesting that it's not being applied to the conservative nationalists who increasingly are completely unassimilated here in the United States of America. Let me know what you think. I know many of you will.